When I first met Jake, I had just embarked on my journey at the New York University, enthusiastic but unsure. A fellow digital arts enthusiast like me, there was an immediate spark between us. Our initial conversation was littered with digital art terms and shared ambitions, an exchange that was nothing short of exhilarating. Having someone who understood my niche interests was a breath of fresh air. Jake was not just a physical presence in my life. He became a major part of my artistic journey. Casual chats turned into intense brainstorming sessions, and dates morphed into long nights working on our pixelated canvases. Our shared love for digital arts became the cornerstone of our relationship. Those moments, tangled in thoughts, dreams, and conversations, still linger in the corners of my memory. Jake, with his love for gaming, opened a new world for me, unlocking a facet of digital arts I hadn't explored before. His fingers danced on the console with an unmatchable rhythm, a sight that left me mesmerized every single time. And when he encouraged me to try, I felt a rush I hadn't experienced before. The tight challenges, the race against time, the tactical decisions, it was also addictive. In those moments, immersed in a game world, with Jake by my side, I discovered a completely new realm within the digital arts domain. Together we dived deeper, constantly pushing each other, improving and learning from each other. It was a beautiful collision of passions, blossoming into something neither of us had expected. Looking back at our time together, it spills over with fond memories, shared triumphs, numerous caffeine-fueled nights, and most importantly, irreplaceable lessons. To this day, that exchange of ideas and energy remains an integral part of my identity as a digital artist. Perhaps it was destiny, or perhaps it was sheer coincidence that I crossed paths with Jake just when I embarked on the path of digital arts. However, it turned out to be a fortunate coincidence that spun a new thread in my love life, defined a significant part of my college journey, and eventually fed into the foundation of my career. And little did I know the gaming sessions with Jake were not just shared moments of joy, they were the genesis of a Twitch streamer in me. As the days turned into weeks, Jake and I found our groove in the whirlwind that was NYU. We weren't just learning together in the classroom, we were discovering new facets of each other outside of it. Much of our time was spent huddled in front of a screen, noses buried in game consoles and fingers dancing across the buttons. While Jake was already an avid gamer, I found myself intrigued and fully submerged in the gaming world that was new and enthralling to me. Thus, we spent countless hours gaming, the PlayStation's tune humming in the background, the ambient light from the screen illuminating our faces. Throwing ourselves into endless digital campaigns, our university dorm echoed with the ringing of virtual battles and our fervent whispering strategies. One day, as I watched Jake skillfully maneuver through a complex gaming level, a thought flickered through my mind. Why not ride this wave of profound interest in gaming and share it with the world? Subtly, but surely, gaming was becoming an integral part of my life, influencing my thought processes and artistic inspiration. Then I recalled a platform I had heard about in passing, Twitch. Shared passions could create bonds, yes, but it could also give birth to a community, a thought that nudged me promisingly. Floating the idea of streaming our gaming sessions on Twitch to Jake, I noticed a spark in his eyes that mirrored my own excitement. The proposal was not just to share a hobby, but a way to reach out, to connect and involve others in our adventures, all the while making some sense of the mesmerizing world that is digital arts. And just like that, we were no longer just students or gamers. We began a new journey as Twitch streamers. Though thankful and excited for these newfound roles, we were oblivious to the profound impact it would have on our lives in the coming years. Launching into the world of Twitch was exhilarating. I fondly look back at that first event where Jake and I, fueled by a mix of astounding adrenaline and alarming apprehension, sent our gameplay out into the World Wide Web. The nervous energy in the room was almost palpable, as we hoped for a positive reception, wondering if this experimental gamble would pay off. Of course, we weren't immediate sensations, but the small community that gathered to watch us was more than we could have hoped for. Gaming, which had started off as a mere interest, quickly molded itself into an essential part of my identity. Now, I was not just interacting with a virtual world, but also sharing my experiences and adventures with real people. Gaining followers on Twitch felt like I was building my troupe, A dedicated clan who didn't mind my rambling commentaries or my unfettered enthusiasm for intricate game strategies. It wasn't just gaming. I was curating a community and carving a space for myself in the digital world. I began exhibiting my love for gaming lingo, dropping GG at the end of a particularly exhilarating match and POG at triumphant victories. I was not just playing the game. I was narrating it, adding my spin to every quest, every victory, every defeat. Behind the screen, I navigated my newfound excitement with a sense of intense wonder and slight disbelief. Would this possibly be the start of something bigger? Would we carve out a niche for ourselves here, or fade into the background just like countless others on this popular platform? Only time could answer these questions. The rush of excitement that powered through me after wrapping up our first live streaming event on Twitch was unforgettable. The joy was contagious, electrifying the space around us, leaving a sparkle in our eyes and a sense of accomplishment in our hearts. We celebrated this small victory with a late-night pizza feast, our laughter resonating in the dorm room as a celebration of not just the success of our first stream, but also the shared passion that had brought us in synchrony, steered us towards a common vision, and crafted a palpable bond between us. As the night turned into the early hours of the morning, the pizza boxes were empty, the laughter subsided, but the sense of accomplishment remained. A tingling sensation, like a soft whisper echoing into the night, told me that this was just the beginning of a fascinating journey. A journey into the electrifying world of digital art and gaming, and a venture into a new avenue that held promises of creative growth and connections with like-minded individuals around the globe. Thinking back, that night was an affirmation of sorts, a glimmering signpost on my path. That streaming on Twitch was not just a side hobby, but the start of an exhilarating expedition that would lead me to unsuspected places. It was an inflection point, one that set the trajectory for my future career. It was unlike any other I had attended before, a surreal experience that seemed to speak directly to my inner artist. The exhibition was bursting with creative magic, full of artworks that were shouting out diverse narratives. They were akin to treasures waiting to be discovered, each one telling a distinct story about its creator. As I meandered through the maze of creative displays, I was filled with an inescapable sense of awe. Every piece struck a chord within me, stirring emotions I didn't even know existed. Each artwork revealed an unseen world of thoughts, emotions, and expressions penned down over countless hours of relentless creativity. They were raw, unfiltered potions of human expressions that invoked a sense of profound inspiration. One particular exhibit simply captivated me. It was this intriguing 3D installation, a dynamic structure that transcended the boundaries of traditional arts. As I studied it closely, I felt an inexplicable connection, but couldn't quite put my finger on why that was. It was as though the very fiber of my artistic soul resonated with the lines, angles, and intricate details of this mesmerizing piece of art. Each time I looked at that installation, I started to see it in a new light, uncovering finer nuances that had previously escaped my attention. It called out to me in a language that didn't need words, speaking volumes through its silent eloquence. I was utterly consumed by it, my heart strumming an inexplicable symphony as if the exhibit and I were communicating, engaged in an artistic tango. That day, my admiration for digital arts transformed into a passion, an ever-consuming hunger, fueled by every exhibit that whispered its story into my ears. The exhibition was no longer a casual visit. It was a life-altering experience, pulling firmly at my heartstrings. And I believe it was at that moment, as I was basking in the enchanting glow of that artistic brilliance, that I realized this was a passion I wanted to pursue ardently. Digital arts was not just recreation anymore, it was my calling. The seed was planted, and I was ready to pave my way into this mesmerizing world. Jake and I had seen so many sides of each other, sharing innumerable laughters, countless tears, and hundreds of unforgettable moments. It was beautiful, it was enriching, and it was indeed life-altering. But as time passed, I began to realize that the path I wanted to tread and the dreams I was chasing were taking a divergent route from Jake's. Jake was a wonderful companion, but as we both dove further into our studies, our projects, our streams on Twitch, things started to shape divergently. Jake was content with the thrill of gaming, completely immersed in his love for the play and the community. He was a brilliant gamer, always filled with excitement and energy, engaging with his followers in the most enchanting ways. He saw gaming as an escape, a thrilling ride into the realms of the virtual world, a sanctuary where he could be his true self without any constraints. On the other hand, every stream that I hosted, every digital piece I created in my solitary refuge, it all started to mean something much more to me. It wasn't just about gaming or creating digital art anymore. It was about the potential of new worlds that we could create using these pixels and polygons. It was about realizing a dream through the lens of a virtual reality, capable of making the impossible possible. It was about the intricate designs, the complex patterns, and the depth of emotion that flowed from every 3D model I crafted. It was, as I had discovered in that memorable art exhibition, my calling. Our passions were kindling in different fires, and consequently our relationship started to feel the heat. The molding force of these diverging aspirations started exerting pressure on our bond. Our conversations started becoming less about us, and more about justifying our professional directions. The disparity was too evident to ignore. We struggled to find a common ground to stand on, and as the differences started to overcome the shared love we had, we both knew it was time. There were tears and there was heartache, inevitable parts of any ending. But there was also a profound sense of understanding. It was excruciating saying goodbye, but it was a necessary pain. It was a tough call, but it was a mature decision to part ways rather than stay held back because of our love. The chasm between our dreams had grown too wide to be bridged by our shared past. It was time to let go and pave our own paths. Thus, Jake and I, after sharing a significant part of our lives, bid goodbye. I didn't realize then, but life was preparing me for the next phase, the next stage of my pursuit for the world of digital arts and virtual reality. The echo of his departing footsteps, the silence of our shared space, and the severance of our attachment was the beginning of a spell of solitude. I plunged myself into the solitude, seeking solace in the world of digital arts and virtual reality that patiently waited for my time and effort. In the silence of my refuge, I began understanding the language of solitude, realizing that it not only echoed my deepest thoughts, but also led my innovative ideas into tangible creations. Each empty corner of my canvas started telling a part of my story, turning my untold narratives into beautiful strokes of innumerable pixels and polygons. While other strings of my life seemed to be fading, the string of commitment to my professional life brightened. The away of Jake allowed me to fully give myself to arts and technology. I began working on projects, each one different and challenging from the other, filling my time and life with the sense of achievement and contentment I had been yearning. A different kind of euphoria consumed me when my streams on Twitch started connecting with people globally. It wasn't merely streaming games, but the interactive sessions where we shared our thoughts, our successes, and our glitches. Surprisingly, I discovered a deep sense of satisfaction not only in playing games, but in talking about playing games. I found joys in the celebrations when our virtual team achieved a tough mission, and I found solace when talking to my followers about my life, both in the game and on the other side of the screen. But as the number of followers on Twitch grew, the number of autumns grew too. Sitting in my apartment one day, I realized that the gaming room, which once held chirpy conversations and shared triumphs, was now filled with a lone screen and the chatter of constant gabbing about life, art, and everything in between. I questioned if this was what I set out for when I started streaming, or if it was another aspect of the life I chose for myself. The answer, however, was quite simple. It was indeed what I sought. This was not a compromise, but a conscious decision to delve into a world that would foster my inherent need to create and engage. Thus, heartsick but hopeful, I ventured forth into this next phase not just with a greater pursuit for digital artistry and virtual realism in mind, but also a newfound maturity. I undertook that adventure, without the co-player in my life yet teeming with the compatriots I found along the way. My followers, my confidants. The onset of solitude was not about the aching emptiness, but about the abundant space that it grants one to introspect and innovate. I found myself submerged in a sea of solitude, yet I found a way to ride the tide. As loneliness soaked into my existence, I realized that it was not the solitude that disturbed me, but the stillness. With Jake, our relationship was a roller coaster ride, filled with laughter, conversations, shared dreams, and even shared gameplays. However, that wave of emotions was now replaced with a daunting tranquility that I was not accustomed to. I was alone with my aspirations, my career, and my path clear in front of me, but strangely, the silence was daunting. Albeit, in the midst of this daunting tranquility, I discovered my true self, my own voice, and my own story. The quiet corridor of my apartment was no longer filled with Jake's laughter, but with the tapping sound of my fingers on the keyboard, creating 3D worlds from the strokes of light, shapes, and colors. Now, my shared space with him had transformed into my creative studio, filled with digital tools, visionary projects, and burgeoning concepts, all narrating the symphony of my art. Meanwhile, my relationship with Jake might have ended, but a new one was blossoming. There was a bond that was growing with my Twitch followers who were not simply an online audience, but the courtside supporters of my life game. Learning and sharing tricks of the games, the excitement built with each level up, the camaraderie during loss. It was all inexplicably comforting and helped me in not feeling alone in my pursuit of the digital dream. On that account, my streaming journey, initially started with Jake, had now become a medium for me to connect with thousands of people worldwide. It was a strange sensation, sitting alone in my room but simultaneously connected to myriad lives and diverse stories. Interestingly, this whole scenario was paradoxically alone but not lonely. I missed Jake but considered it was for the better. It led me to truly discover the digital realm, not just for creation but for connections. The buzz of the tech world, the pulsating gaming streams, the personal interactions, all this became my comforting soundtrack in the silence that surrounded me. Amidst the static of the digital world and the tranquility of my existence, I could hear my thoughts more clearly, and I started embracing the solitude that initially intimidated me. At this juncture, I realized I'd embarked on a journey paved by personal and digital growth, a lonely yet fulfilling path. I was no longer Amy, who was one half of a relationship, but the Amy who was emerging as a promising digital artist and a Twitch streamer. It was precisely at this moment that I truly embraced the solitude, the unsettling stillness, and the utmost tranquility, because therein lay my growth, my transformation, and my emergence as the woman I was becoming.